Live from the studios of TVCN, Tampa Bay Community Network, and beautiful Tampa, Florida. A special edition of the Tampa Native Show. Tonight, Guido Maniscalco and Jacqueline Toledo face off in an exclusive televised debate for the District 6 City Council seat. Local media guests include Christopher O'Donnell and Richard Danielson. And now, here's your host, Mario Nunez.
Hi, Tampa Native Show fans. Well, as you know, if you've been following the progression of our show this week, we've run into a couple of snafus. Right off the top, let me explain to you that the debate that should be currently is not going to be taking place tonight. If you haven't been following social media, if you haven't been plugged into Tampa Bay Times or the Tampa Tribune, you probably don't know that. But the vast majority of our viewers already know that due to unforeseen circumstances, Ms. Jackie Toledo decided it would be in her best interest to not attend tonight's debate. I guess the reason that they cited was that your host and moderator and creator of the Tampa Native Show could not be unbiased, as he is on record as being a supporter of Guido Maniscalco, who's in studio with us tonight. We'll introduce him in just a moment. We've got a very good show lined up for you tonight. Guido's going to be answering your questions, and we're going to be taking your emails in real time. So if you'd like to submit an email, Guido would like to have the opportunity to answer your questions. Do that at goodtimes@tampanativeshow.com. goodtimes@tampanativeshow.com. We'll answer them right here in the studio. We also have some questions that would have been asked this evening by our two panelists that also were unavailable to join us tonight, and that would be Mr. Chris O'Donnell from the Tampa Tribune and Mr. Rick Danielson from the Tampa Bay Times. Both, unfortunately, could not convince their editors to allow them to be here. As such, the debate fell apart earlier this week. More on that as we progress down the show, but at this moment, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce to you Guido Maniscalco, who is joining us in studio. Guido, thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you very much for having me.
Appreciate your time. And of course, I'd like to also introduce to you Miss Jackie Toledo. Jackie would be seated right about there, but unfortunately, she's not with us tonight. So, Jackie, we sure wish you had taken the opportunity to come in here and answer some questions. I'm sure your constituents in District 6 would appreciate the opportunity to discuss a lot of things with you. But be that as it may, I'll be asking some questions to Guido, questions that are being posed here online and questions that I have here in front of me that would have been asked by Chris O'Donnell and Rick Danielson. I'd like to give Guido an opportunity at the top of the show to introduce himself anew and perhaps reintroduce himself to his constituents in District 6 with an opening statement. So Guido, it's your time.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in on the Tampa Native Show. I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Mario, for the invitation. My name is Guido Maniscalco. I'm your candidate for Tampa City Council District 6. What is District 6? It's the heart of West Tampa. It's Seminole Heights. It's the booming West Shore area that's so important to us. I'm a lifelong Tampa resident. I'm born right here in West Tampa. I'm raised in West Tampa. My family's run a business in West Tampa for over 40 years. We're proud to have deep roots here. I'm proud to be a first-generation American. My mother's from Cuba. My father's from Italy. I'm fluent in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Italian. For the last several years, I've served as the president of the McFarland Park Neighborhood Association. Hugh McFarland, as many know, is the father of West Tampa. For the last 3 years, I've served as a member of the City of Tampa Code Enforcement Board. I'm the trustee chairman for the Sons of Italy Lodge, treasurer for the Ybor City Lions Club, member of the Ybor City Roundtable, and a member of the West Tampa Optimist Club. I'm looking forward to the questions. I'm looking forward to giving you the answers. And thank you, Mario. Once again, back to you.
Thank you, Guido. Wonderful. And it's, you know, it's very rewarding and for me personally to have an opportunity to ask you these questions. I'll start with one from Chris O'Donnell that would have been asked right up at the top from the Tribune. Chris would have asked, a common complaint is that too much of the city's focus is downtown. Guido, do you think that's true? And what would you do to change it?
We are seeing a renaissance in downtown Tampa, one that we have not seen in generations. Through urban renewal, so much of our city was destroyed with the interstate system, and after the 1960s and 70s, downtown Tampa took a downturn. That's also in part to shopping malls being built, so much of the commercial moving out to outer parts, people moving away from that core downtown area. But lately, these last few years, we've seen a complete change. And a lot of people do ask the question, is too much of the emphasis in city government focused on downtown Tampa? But being a neighborhood person, I believe that neighborhoods are the building blocks of this community. Strong neighborhoods, a strong town, it all fits together. What we want is a strong, safe community, a neighborhood and neighborhoods that people want to move to, live, and come to raise a family. But we also need a strong downtown, one where people will go to after hours. We have great parks down there where people go to work during the day that offers so much. So it ties in together. It's not just too much emphasis on downtown, but it's all part of the Tampa puzzle. And a strong downtown, strong neighborhoods are all pieces that go to complete that puzzle.
Thank you, Guido. I would like to give Ms. Toledo the opportunity to also offer her answer to the very same question. But again, as distressing as it may be, she's unavailable for comment, which seems to be something that we're all too familiar with in these last few days. Guido, another question comes to you from Rick Danielson of the Tampa Bay Times. He says, suppose you had a friend coming for a day-long visit who had never been to Tampa before. Where would you take them? And what would you do to give them a taste of your city?
Well, Tampa really has so much to offer. Where would I begin? So they land at Tampa International Airport, but there is no mass transit system that'll take them to Ybor City, to downtown Tampa, to West Tampa, to South Tampa, to East Tampa, all the great places that we can visit. So I'd have to pick that person up. I would probably start leaving the airport, going down Columbus Drive and stopping at one of the Spanish restaurants. You have Arcoiris, La Teresita, so many places that we like to visit. For finer culinary delights, we can go down to Burn Steakhouse, which has one of the greatest wine selections in the world. But beyond food, what's important to Tampa is our rich history. I would definitely take folks down to, or that friend, down to Ybor City. And having done so in the past, people will say, 7th Avenue reminds me of so much of Bourbon Street in New Orleans. And I say, no, it's Ybor City. I go, but it looks so much like New Orleans with all the brick buildings and all the history and some of the brick roads. I said, no, it's Ybor City. And that's where I get the opportunity to share with the folks what Ybor City means to Tampa and Tampa's history, the cigar factories. We have so many hardworking families that were born and raised there, so many names that go back so far in our community. And many of those buildings, if you notice down 7th Avenue, they have names up top. And those names are rich and they're important to Tampa's history because those are people from yesteryear. So we don't go to a photo album, we don't go to a history book. You can show living, breathing history. Another area I would take folks in Tampa would be some of our wonderful parks. We have Julian Lane Park, which is beautiful, a great place where you can sit under the trees, have a picnic. One of the newer ones is Waterworks Park on the way into downtown. A great place to have a picnic, great place to take your kids. We also have Curtis Dixon Waterfront Park, our beautiful Hillsborough River showcase there with our newly, soon to be completed and reopened Riverwalk. We have great museums down there, the Tampa History Center, the Tampa Museum of Art, which shows great exhibits. There's so much to see. For the people that don't want to see so much of that history, depends on who it is, you can take them to Laurie Park Zoo. You can take them to Busch Gardens. So really, when you think about, where would you take that person, it just depends on how much time you have because you really can keep someone entertained. It's not about a business meeting. You come in one day, you come out the other. There's so many restaurants, there's so many places to see, so many places to eat, so much to learn about our city. And that's what makes us great because we have so much to offer.
An excellent answer. And you're not going to get a rebuttal from me. We're not going to get a rebuttal from our other guest that's not here, but I'll tell you one thing. As the host and moderator tonight, and as the weekly host of the Tampa Native Show, I can say with certitude that our city has an amazing, rich history. Guido alluded to it just a minute ago. That's what we do here at the Tampa Native Show. That's what we thought this week, and that's why we thought this week was so important to the future of our city that we offered this time slot free of charge to both candidates to come in and meet their constituents. You know, here at the Tampa Native Show each week, we turn back the clock. We reminisce about growing up in Tampa, those of us that are third and fourth generation Tampa natives, descendants of those great early settlers that came here in the late 1800s, following the cigar industry from Cuba, who came here from Santo Stefano, Sicily, and who came here from the Asturias region of España. You know, we talk about it each week, and it's really, really something that we're very proud of, our history and our heritage. Guido exemplifies that. We hope that you can appreciate what we do here at the Tampa Native Show. Guido, I have another question for you. This one, back to Mr. Chris O'Donnell. It says, if Hillsborough County goes to a referendum in 2016, would you publicly support a sales tax increase to pay for light rail, more buses, and road improvements?
Well, one of the biggest concerns when speaking to people and listening to their issues, they'll tell me, you know, when are we going to fix our roads, so many of our residential roads? When are we going to add sidewalks? When are we going to add more lighting, pedestrian crosswalks, bike lanes? We're one of the most dangerous cities in America for pedestrians and for bicyclists. We need to change that. Another issue is transportation. The bus system is ineffective. It's inefficient. Our streetcar system downtown, it ends at Whiting Station. It leaves you in the middle of downtown, far away from the residential towers, far away from the parks, far away from the action. What is holding Tampa back from true success is transportation. It's mass transit. It's investing in our infrastructure. People call it a tax, but tax so often comes across as a bad word, a negative word. It's an investment in our future. And City Council is very limited as to what it can do on transportation. But I can use that position of influence to educate folks, to tell folks, to convince folks why. This is an investment in our future. We talk so much about the high-paying jobs and the high-tech jobs and bringing the large corporations to Tampa, but we forget that the main question and one of the biggest questions they ask is, how do we get our people around? How do I get from here to there? Earlier I mentioned, if you had a friend that would come to Tampa, you know, I would say there's no transit system taking you from the airport down to these areas. I'd have to pick you up in a car. You'd have to get a taxi cab or try Uber or Lyft or some other way to get around. But by having this referendum put on the ballot, we get an opportunity for the people to chime in and cast their vote for something that is so critical to our region. If you can't get people around, you're not going to be successful. We're not going to continue growing. We're not going to be competitive. And that's something that's so important to our future. You know, many politicians look to the next election, but a true public servant, such as I, looks to the next generation. And that's what's important. It's about tomorrow. It's about our children. It's about when they graduate from our great schools, our great universities, where are they going to go? Are they going to get those high-paying, high-tech jobs elsewhere? Or because we invested in the future via mass transit, are they going to stay here because they have the opportunities here? It's not a tax. It's an investment in our future. But we can't sustain the cost of something like this. A lot of people think it's a light rail system, but I'm talking about fixing our roads, reinvesting and revamping our bus system, having bicycle lanes, making the city more pedestrian friendly. It's about getting people around. We have to solve that problem. And I think the referendum is that new revenue stream that we so desperately need, not just to put a Band-Aid on a project, but to have a sustainable income that will take care and tackle these transportation issues down the road.
I think that speaking from personal experience, I can assure you that most of us here, not just in District 6, Guido, but all throughout the Tampa Bay region, if you wish, but more specifically right here in our hometown, are suffering daily with traffic issues that just at times are overwhelming. If you consider that rush hour used to be something that was maybe 30 or 45 minutes, say from 8:30 to 9 o'clock and from 5 to 5:30, now those rush hour problems seem to be all day long. So in keeping with your thoughts, I think that realistically that has to be an issue that the City Council tackles immediately and tackles with vigor and a sense of purpose, because we don't have a minute. If we're going to continue to invite people here, I think that it's incumbent upon everybody to solve that problem. Thank you for your thoughts on that. That was very articulate. Let me also, I wish we had somebody else to talk to here, Guido, but we don't, so we're going to continue. Guido, let me ask you this. It's kind of a fun question. What's your favorite memory of growing up or being here in Tampa as a teenager? What's your kind of one of your favorite memories? And I'm sure you have several, just like I do.
Well, that's a great question. And
thinking of your abuelos, thinking of your cousins.
Yeah, what I love about Tampa is the fact that you know, we're a great big family. You know, you're either related, or you grew up together, or you grew up down the street. But the fact is, we all look out for each other, and that's important. So my mother, she's had the same friends for 50 years, people that she grew up with. I've had the same friends for 25 years, you know, kids that I went to school with, cousins, family, whoever it is. But Tampa's a really great place. And, you know, looking back at what were my favorite memories as a teenager would be the homecomings and proms that I attended in high school. Always exciting. I was at Jesuit for a little bit, and I graduated from Tampa Catholic after transferring. So that was always a fun time. The concerts that I went to growing up, I saw the Rolling Stones here. I saw Bob Dylan here. I saw Neil Diamond here. Being a 1960s music lover, you know, I've had the opportunity to see these great people. If not, I know people from the previous generation, my parents' generation, that saw Led Zeppelin at the Tampa Stadium. My mother and father saw the Police when they first started dating, you know, over 30-something years ago. Those are their memories, great things. You know, my mother grew up in the disco generation, so all these clubs and places that she'd go dancing at, you know, it's always great to hear her stories and how she would, you know, on their lunch breaks from school would go to people's houses and practice their disco dancing moves. So she has her memories, I have mine. But Tampa brings a smile to my face. You know, I've had a great childhood. I'm blessed to have had a wonderful life here, and I've never had to leave. I went to USF, I graduated from Tampa Catholic High School, and people ask me, what about Tampa? Why haven't you this? Why haven't you gone here? And you know, and I'll answer, I've traveled everywhere. I've gone to so many places. I've been so lucky to do so. But I always come back here. And Tampa's been good to me. Tampa's been good to my family, and it's a city that I love, that I appreciate, and I want to share that passion with other people and promote that. I think it's very, very important.
Thank you, Guido. I have a question from one of our online submittals. It's from Carmen in Tampa, and she asks, it's kind of in keeping with the question that you just responded to, so you're going to have to be nimble.
Yeah.
And kind of give us your answer to this question. Should you prevail? It says, should you prevail and win the District 6 county seat in the runoff, what would it mean to you, forgive me, what would it mean to you to represent your district, to represent your hometown on the city council? Thank you, Carmen.
I'd like to set an example of what I believe is a true public servant. Characteristics that I've learned from so many great people that have led our city in the past and do today, and that is to let people know that they have a voice in local government, that they have a friend in local government, they have somebody that represents them, that works hard. I come from a neighborhood background, I come from a small business background, I come from a code enforcement background, whatever you want to call it, but I bring experience to the table. And I've worked very hard at building that experience. I don't call it a resume because I like that life experience. You know, learning and understanding, getting to know what really makes Tampa tick, what the people need, understanding the issues. And that's what I'll be on City Council, a person that listens, you know, that everybody has my ear, because that's important. Because if you're going to represent a district, you have to do so and make sure that people know who the representative is, give people the voice that so many people don't feel that they have in local government, and continue to be active. There's a saying where, you know, people will say that, you know, these politicians only come around every 4 years. You know, the campaign never really ends. You know, you go to those coffee shops in the morning to talk to people, you answer those phone calls during the day, in the morning, at night, and you listen to folks. You stop by those houses, you continue knocking on those doors, and that's what I'm going to bring to the table, and that's something that I will do.
Let me ask you this. As we have a graphic that we can show here to our audience members, let's talk a little bit about what District 6 represents and kind of show the entire city of Tampa map there. And you can see District 6 right there on your screen in I guess you'd say that's probably fuchsia. Would you call that fuchsia, almost pink?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about District 6, its borders from north to south, east, and west, and what it all entails? I know you mentioned West Tampa being the heart of,
Yeah.
but it's more than West Tampa.
It's not just West Tampa, because we have such a diverse district. What we've seen lately, at least in the last 10 to 15 years, is this renaissance in Seminole Heights. This area that time forgot for so long, but is coming back so strong. A beautiful neighborhood, one that I like to call, the great American neighborhood. Lately, we've had so many new restaurants that have come up through the area of Florida and Nebraska, all these great entrepreneurs and small business owners that are so important to our local economy. They're making Seminole Heights a destination. You can go to these some of these restaurants up there and some of these stores on Sundays, on weeknights, on Friday nights, and they're busy. I mean, it's really a wonderful thing to see through there. But as you come down to the core West Tampa, that's where you see where I was born, over at St. Joseph's Women's Hospital, and where my family's had their business for so long. But it's where so much of our rich history is at. I had mentioned earlier I'm president of McFarland Park Neighborhood Association, but Hugh McFarland, the father of West Tampa, the man that incorporated the city of West Tampa up until 1925 or so, is right there. McFarland Park, the hill, the gazebo that so many kids remember running up and playing in, and this and that. And the neighborhoods that we grew up in, Jesuit High School, Tampa Catholic High School, Jefferson High School, Hillsborough High School. These are the names of schools that so many in our community went to and graduated from, and their kids and grandkids are going to. But then you travel down, you have the airport. And the airport is, in my honest opinion, and I think many people will agree, one of the greatest airports in the world. I've been to many airports, and Tampa International is just really very easy to get in, very easy to get out. Really it should be a model for many other cities. You have International Plaza, great shopping area, West Shore Mall. And then you have the boom in the West Shore Business District that people have called the new downtown. Why? Because it can accommodate parking, and that's an issue that's been a downtown problem for many, many years, is parking. And then you have more of the affluent neighborhoods, Carberth Isles, you have Swan Avenue, West Shore, so many great areas there, but we represent a little bit of everybody. It's not just West Tampa, it's great. It's an area of really great neighborhoods. So
I think District 6 holds a special place in city of Tampa politics, and for so many years it was kind of the roost of Charlie Miranda here and our chairperson. So I guess you could say it's a big seat to be filled.
Yeah.
And an awesome responsibility.
Yep.
I have a question that comes from the interwebs, as they say on TV at times, and this one comes to us from our viewer and good friend and sponsor and the guest on last week's Tampa Native show, Miss Marilyn Messina. Marilyn Messina writes about Fort Homer Hesterly, the Armory. The fort has been purchased and slated for major renovation. Do you foresee businesses opening up in that area in order to give new life to an area that seems to have been forgotten by time? I grew up in that area, so there is personal interest in what happens there. What can the average citizen do to help that progress along? And is Mayor Buckhorn enthusiastic about the growth in your district? That's from Marilyn Messina. Thank you, Marilyn.
All right. The Armory is so important to the neighborhood, mainly because of the history. November 18th, 1963, John F. Kennedy spoke there. A few days later, he went to Dallas, and the rest is history. Martin Luther King spoke there. James Brown played there. The Doors played there. That Armory is so important. My mother went to so many dances there as a teenager. But it's been dormant for so many years. And now this, is it the Jewish Community Center that'd be coming in there, redeveloping and bringing new life to that area, but maintaining many of the original structures, especially that main Armory Hall. It's going to be a trickle-down effect to the rest of the neighborhood. I believe the Armenia-Howard Avenue corridor is so busy and well-traveled. The Armory is right in the heart of it, and it's this great property that lies in the middle of the area that is very important, not just to our history, but to the future. And I feel that the money that's being invested there will promote growth around the area. New businesses will open, offices will open. It'll be nice to see, because I've driven past it for well over 20 years. almost on a daily basis, and it's nice to see what's going in there. It's a great positive investment in our community, and I think it'll trigger a domino effect that will continue to promote growth and spread positive change to the area without forgetting our history.
Two different events that took place at that Armory that I might add to your impressive list was Elvis Presley played there.
Yeah,
before you and I were both born.
Yeah.
And of course, we all grew up with Tuesday nights at the Armory and National Wrestling Alliance, and of course, Dusty Rhodes, the great Malenko, and Eddie Graham. Talk about some Tampa history. That Armory is a treasure to us.
Absolutely.
And for this Tampa Native show host, happy to see that they are investing in that building so that it can be brought up to its wonder, to its splendor once again. Marilyn Messina went on to say, Guido, thank you for coming on the show. I do not live in the city limits, but do travel in and out of for business and personal reasons. So what happens in your district is important to me. And that's, again, from Marilyn Messina. Let me see, I've got another question here for you. This one would have been offered by Mr. Chris O'Donnell, once again from the Tribune. He says, Councilman Charlie Miranda says the city's code enforcement efforts are weak. Do you agree? And what would you do to fix that?
That's a great question. For the last 3 years, I've sat as a member of the City of Tampa Code Enforcement Board, appointed originally by the City Council. So I've heard my share of cases over the last several years, and each case is different. And on each case, I like to do my homework so I can make the best decision. There have been many times where I've visited the property in question, done more research, gotten to understand the issue before I've come to a decision where it's, you know, somebody or an attorney, an individual that comes before you and just speaks. I want to be more hands-on. And what I've seen in several cases is, and the phrase that comes up very, very often is, we don't have enough teeth in the code. But what does that mean? We have a great legal department in the city of Tampa, and I'd like to sit down and visit with them and revise and look over the, all of our different codes to see where we can close the loopholes, where we can become stronger, and where we are within our legal limits. So when we do have these cases in the future, we don't just put a Band-Aid on the problem, but we find a solution to the issue.
Thank you. I'm sorry I was distracted just a moment because there are incoming messages coming in, and this one is somewhat perplexing, but I'll read it aloud so that our viewers at home can understand that there are things that happen here on live television and public access television, which, by the way, if I might digress for just a moment before I read this particular incoming email from Marlene Maced Ali, public access television is really, really important, I think, to the conversation overall, and specifically to matters of importance on the grassroots level, where things like city council debates and things like city council meetings can be televised for a local audience. I think that public access television is the perfect venue for this sort of a debate and for this sort of setting. We are very regretful that we don't have an entire debate to offer you tonight, because as eloquent as Guido has been tonight expressing his concerns and what he would do as a city council representative, it's really shameful that the other side isn't here tonight to also give her constituents a chance to hear her speak. Personally speaking, as the executive producer and host of this show, I'm sorry that didn't happen. I've got an email coming in from Marlene Maced Ali. She says, and I'll read it verbatim, I got the show at 7:20 p.m. on Bright House. Prior to that, it said, Steambox, transport, and no show. And then she goes on to say, I think the Toledos are playing with the satellite. I don't know what that means, but Marlene, perhaps you can send us another email and let us know if the show is actually on now, or if perhaps this is one of those incidents, Guido, like when Radio and TV Martí was being jammed over Cuba, and the Cuban government was out there playing shenanigans, and with a 25-cent piece of electronic equipment from Radio Shack, they were able to jam the frequency. I don't know, but I hope that all of our viewers are able to watch us tonight. If you're having any difficulties currently, please let us know. At times, there are some signal difficulties. We're hoping that's not the case tonight. How are you doing so far, Guido?
Good.
Excellent. You're doing a great job. And listen, go ahead and take a sip of water there. I'll do the same. This would be a great time for a commercial break, but on public access television, we don't do that. We just keep rolling. So, as the questions keep coming in, once again, let me give you that email address so that you can send your question. And we hope maybe the other side who's watching tonight might send in a question. Tough, hard-hitting question. That's what we'd like to see you do, because that's what we're here to help facilitate. Answers to tough questions. That email address is goodtimes@tampanativeshow.com. That's goodtimes@tampanativeshow.com. There you see the Facebook and the Twitter accounts. You can tweet us. You can send us a Facebook message. We're open and we're watching those as well. Guido, do you happen to know why the email address is goodtimes@tampanativeshow.com?
I don't know about you, but my lifetime in Tampa has been nothing but good times.
Oh, where's my bell? Where's my bell? Attaboy, Guido. Attaboy. No, that's why. Because here at the Tampa Native Show, we have good times. Now, tonight we're taking a little bit of a more serious look at things. But really and truthfully, I just want to bust out and start laughing with you, Guido. I really do. You got one of those charismatic smiles, man. I never seen you smile so much, and I know you're relaxed, and that's a very good thing. Okay, Guido. Here's another. Here's a hard hitter. Here's a tough question coming at you from Chris O'Donnell. If the Rays get an agreement to leave St. Petersburg, or are allowed to leave St. Petersburg, should CRA dollars or other taxes be used for a new stadium? Before you answer that, let me say this. I really do hope that the Rays stay in this area, because if there's one thing we know about Tampa's rich history, its association with baseball, starting in the earliest days with Mr. Al Lopez, and of course Al Lopez Field, it was constructed in 1955 right there on the footprint of where Ray J sits today. And it would be really, really, really horrible for those of us that cut our teeth at the ballpark, playing most of us at West Tampa and in and around the ballparks, if we lost the Tampa Bay Rays to another city. And I'm going to ask you the question again, Guido, because I'm hoping that you have the right answer for this. If the Rays get an agreement to leave St. Petersburg, should CRA, and maybe you should explain what CRA stands for, CRA dollars or other taxes, I hate that word too, taxes, other provisions be used for a new stadium right here in Tampa?
Tampa has such a rich, long baseball history. If you go to the University of Tampa, there's a plaque that says Babe Ruth hit one of his longest home runs right here. Babe Ruth, one of the greatest, if not the greatest baseball players of all time. But having said that, baseball is important to our community. We see that we have the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm proud to be a fan of the Tampa Bay Rays, also the New York Yankees, which they do their spring training here. But if talks do come up to relocate the Rays, to bring a stadium to Tampa, we have to look at all different avenues, CIT, CRA, community reinvestment money, to make sure that money is spent wisely. But building a stadium is not a walk in the park or a piece of cake. It's a very expensive process. Tampa needs so much. Tampa needs so much investment in infrastructure. The problems that we have now, transportation, what I've already spoken about. But what I like to see is a public-private partnership. You know, not all public money should go to building a baseball stadium. They have to do their part too. A great example, what we have recently, is the Vinnick plan in downtown Tampa. He reinvests in the infrastructure, or he invests in the infrastructure, and City Council and County Commission will be reimbursing him that money. But he does his part, we do our part, and that's how it should be with baseball. A stadium is, they do their part, we do our part, but it can't be solely public funds.
Thank you, Guido, for that answer. Listen, I want to take this opportunity to also thank those of you that are sending in your emails. I know you're watching. I'm getting your emails in real time. I appreciate it. Guido appreciates the opportunity to field these questions. And I'm going to ask another one from the internet currently. This one comes to us, Guido, from Michelle Barron. And she writes, do you think redevelopment plans for the main corridors leading from Seminole Heights to Ybor City and downtown, Florida and Nebraska avenues, are what is needed for a more complete revitalization of these inner city areas? One that would include a full array of retail, banking, and other services. Thank you, Michelle.
You take Florida Avenue out of Seminole Heights, you take it and it converts into Tampa Street goes downtown. A lot of people talk about making it a two-way street. Same thing with Florida Avenue coming up, dividing, splitting up. But you have to be careful with redevelopment. You want to respect the neighborhoods. The neighborhoods come first. And if you do that, you have to maintain it within boundaries. You don't want to overdevelop. People talk about gentrification, pushing out of a neighborhood to rebuild, or overdevelopment where it destroys the delicate fabric of our neighborhoods, or to ease traffic congestion, continue to widen the roads where you really can't do so much in so many areas. But I believe that neighborhoods come first. I believe that neighborhoods are the building blocks of the community, and that you have to maintain a balance. When you redevelop or when you bring changes to a neighborhood, you have to respect the neighborhood. You have to respect the people that live there and listen there to see what the best idea is and what the best method is to take that neighborhood into the future. So it's a very delicate process which requires two-way communication. We need to know what the neighborhood wants. We have to respect that, but we also have to base wise decisions as to what kind of redevelopment, what kind of development, what kind of investment for our future.
And Nebraska Avenue and Florida Avenue have long been main thoroughfares in Tampa that have been somewhat neglected. Not neglected necessarily, but kind of left behind a little bit. It's so wonderful to see places like Seminole Heights and Tampa Heights becoming resurgent. It's so wonderful to see downtown becoming vibrant once again. It's kind of sad when you're driving on the interstate system and you're heading north on 275, and if you've got a low-profile vehicle, and some of us do, you can't see the neighborhoods and you can't even see the skyline of Tampa because they've built the interstate system in such a way, and I understand it's for sound buffering reasons. We understand that. But it does take away from the view of the lovely neighborhoods, and as you're approaching our beautiful skyline downtown, that's just a minor editorial comment. I just wanted to share that with you, Guido. I wish that were a little bit different. Okay, I've got a response from Marlene Maceda-Lee. She says, I'm sorry I missed the first 30 minutes, but I'm so glad that Guido is on. He's such a genuine person, and District 6 needs a man like him. And that's from Marlene Maceda-Lee. So thank you, Marlene, for letting us know. I will say this programming note, that this show will be available as early as tomorrow morning on our website. So anybody that missed it, or anybody that wants to go back and review or kind of have a recap of the show, it will be available on our website. I'll give you that website address currently. The website is Tampa Natives Show, that's Tampa Natives plural, tampanatives.show.com. All of our shows are archived there, and we don't just do serious political talk here. We do a lot of fun and games and reminiscing about a wonderful time growing up here in the city we call Tampa, Florida, our hometown. So we invite everybody to peruse that website at your leisure when you get an opportunity. I got a question, Guido, that's near and dear to me, and I know it is to you as well. It says, if the United States, this is from Mr. Danielson of the Tampa Bay Times, if the United States and Cuba normalized their diplomatic relations, which we know that's kind of ongoing and underway, would you support the establishment of a Cuban consulate in Tampa? Why or why not?
Tampa and Cuba, the island of Cuba, have a very, very long history together. People talk about Cuban cigars, but they forget that Tampa was the cigar capital of the world. My mother is from Cuba. My family came here in 1961 with suitcases, nothing, like so many other Americans, and they chased the American dream, and they came here to rebuild their lives, and they chose Tampa, and here we have been for over 50 years. Now, having said that, people think, well, you must have ill feelings toward normalizing relations with Cuba, but it's not the fact. My mother talks about one day revisiting the place where she was born to see where she came from. And I talk about if we do have normalized relations, as have been talked about so much recently in the media, you know, it's a great opportunity for us to go back there and see what we can do after so long. But having said that, and having said that Tampa has had such a long history and a long tie to the island of Cuba, of course I would support that. It's important, it makes sense, it ties into our history and our culture because so many people have chosen to make Tampa their home. And I feel that it's only right to open a consulate here. It would make sense. should we go down the path to normalizing relations after so many years.
Wonderful response. I think that most of your constituents would agree with you. I know, having personal ties to Cuba, my grandfather's birthplace, I would love to see it happen even more rapidly than it's happening currently. But I know it's coming. I think that better days are ahead for normalizing relations, especially where Tampa's concerned, Guido, because as you alluded to, Tampa has such a deep and storied history. You know, those of us whose grandparents and great-grandparents came here in the late 1800s, through Key West, most of us, and then finally here to Ybor City in West Tampa. For many years, we weren't able to go back, and it's been a troubling thing. But I think December 17th, when President Obama decided that he was going to take the initiative and start to make a move on that, you saw everybody get excited, and nobody more so than the residents of our great city, who have a long tie with the island of Cuba. Another question from the internet, and thank you once again. Keep those questions hot, keep them coming in. I've got the email window open, ready to receive your emails. This one comes to us from, I guess it's his name, I'm thinking it just says Abdiel, A-B-D-I-E-L, Abdiel Personal, okay? Personal Abdiel. He says, Guido, what is the city currently doing to support small businesses, and what will you do to encourage business startup and growth?
One of the things that I've brought up throughout this entire campaign, and one of my main campaign platforms, is make Tampa easy to do business in. And that means people that want to relocate to this area, open a new business here, entrepreneurs that want to expand their business, eliminate that red tape, eliminate that bureaucracy. And that's something that the mayor has spoken about for years and has helped to speed up that permitting process, make it more efficient, make it more appealing to people that do want to do business here. But I want to continue on that. The city's land development code, continue to simplify it. It will never be perfect, but we can take continued steps to make it easier to understand, easier to do business with, and therefore making Tampa a business-friendly environment. Because the first thing that I want to hear, and the most important thing, is why Tampa? Because Tampa is welcoming. And that's what we need to do, is focus on making it easy to do business, to be more appealing and more attractive to people.
Thank you, Guido. Another quick question. Should Mayor Buckhorn conduct a national search for a new police chief? As we know, our police chief, Castor, is soon to retire. Should Mayor Buckhorn conduct a national search, or should he do it from within?
Well, we want to have the best and brightest talent, especially for our public safety and for our Tampa Police Department. But look at what we have locally. People that know the city, that may have grown up here, have lived here for so long, that understand people within the department. I say open it up. You want to be equal opportunity. You know, seek out women, seek out minorities, give people a shot, because you want the best and the brightest. And the best and the brightest come from all walks of life. But I want to see that we expand that search and try to get the best option. We've had a wonderful police chief, and to replace her, you know, we want to continue on that path of success and bring somebody that's just as qualified. But keep that door open and open it to everyone. And therefore, you make your decision as to who would replace our current chief.
Thank you, Guido. From the internet, we have a message, internal message. This is a technical, one of our IT department is sending us a message saying this show will be up tonight on our website. So you're not going to have to wait much later than 10 or 11 o'clock, perhaps. The show will be up tonight and available. For those of you that stay up late or get off of work late and you'd like to see the show, it'll be available tonight, tampanativeshow.com. Guido, here's a question that has been on everybody's mind, certainly, and I'm so sorry that you're the only one here to answer this question. Why has the District 6 race been so negative and heated? Do you condemn the attack mailers sent from third parties attacking your opponent? And that goes both, that's a double-edged sword, attacking your opponent and certainly attacking you. We have graphics of that as well. So Guido, take it away.
nobody likes negativity, especially on such a local level city council race. We've come out of a grueling 2012 presidential campaign, which led into a brutal 2014 governor's race. I myself just turned the radio off. Stop watching so many commercials on TV because that negativity continuously pounding into people's heads over and over, it turns people off. And I think it keeps people from coming out to vote because they lose faith in the system. Our race has gotten dirty, nasty, people are tired of it, and it's been these mailers that come from these third-party groups. You know, one thing is to attack a candidate, but in my case, it's been personal attacks on my family. I've maintained a good reputation, so they didn't have any dirt on me, and they continued to my 87-year-old grandmother and several mailers. And I think it really turns people off. But what we see here is a comparison piece. 2 mailers, 2 images, both the same, 2 different addresses. And one of the addresses on the mailer is a PAC called Moving Tampa Forward that was created, I think, around February 17th under an assumed name. Therefore, the Tampa Bay Times and other news sources have done their investigations, and they've traced these PACs back to several local people that are associated with these, the other campaign here. And of course, everybody denies it. People say that they have nothing to do with it. The other candidate herself says, I don't know anything about this. But the right thing to do, because of so many negative mailers and so many comparisons and so many dots that are being connected by so many media sources, to condemn these things. Nobody likes negative attacks. Nobody likes personal attacks. This last week it was attacks on my family and my grandmother that are just beyond anything that I could really comprehend. And I've had people come to me and say, I want to show you this. I got this in the mail. A lady yesterday, and she says, I want to tear this up right in front of you. I think this is disgusting. Every day the mailman comes in and says, get your cameras out. You know, another negative mailer is coming out. And we expect more to come between now and Tuesday. And the election is just days away. It's turned so many people off. It's hurt so many people. And people are tired of it. This is a city council seat, a district city council seat. One local elected official told me, he goes, I've never seen anything like it. People in the community, I've never seen anything like it. Are you running for governor? Are you running for president? What is this? It's beyond comprehension. It's completely out of control. It's gotten to the point that people they want election day to get here. And do these negative mailers backfire? Yes. Do these negative mailers work? Sometimes. But it's wrong. And I'm sorry that we've had to take this path for a seat representing this great part of Tampa that's so rich and so important. People don't like it. People don't want to talk about negativity. People want to talk about the issues. The issues. What can you do to better improve this community? What can you give back? How will you be an effective public servant? People want to hear solutions, because after you go through a presidential race and a governor's race and a senator's race with all this negativity, third-party mailers, negative mudslinging from both sides, people are tired of it. And people are waiting for election day. I know I am, because enough is enough. Let's focus on the issues. Let's focus as to why one or the other is the best candidate. And that's it. And how we can bring solutions to the neighborhood and improve this community.
Thank you, Guido. Thank you very much. We're rapidly coming to the close of our erstwhile debate, albeit a one-sided conversation, with a young, very progressive, very astute, and I think very articulate Guido Maniscalco. I think that tonight you've done yourself proud, Guido. I was hoping that you'd have a chance to spar a little bit. I was hoping that you'd have a chance in real time to discuss the issues with your opponent. My promise to be a neutral moderator of this particular debate, I didn't get the opportunity to do that. I'd like to offer you the closing 3 or 4 minutes of the show, but before we do that, I would like to offer an editorial comment at this time. And what I'm about to say really in no way has anything to do with Guido. This is a very personal statement on behalf of myself as the executive producer of this show, on behalf of my entire production team, my wife who sits with me here at the table, and my co-host Steve Cannella, who is our IT department specialist. You know, just today, I was the victim of a lot of derision on social media platforms. I was summarily dispatched and thrown under the bus by Fox 13 today at the noon hour. My intent when I offered free studio airtime to the League of Women Voters and Ms. Jackie Toledo to come on and debate was simply this: to facilitate a debate, to be a neutral moderator, to ask questions posed by the Tampa Tribune and the St. Petersburg Times, the erstwhile Tampa Bay Times, and simply to call time and to continue the conversation. I knew that I could do that in spite of the fact that I had come out earlier in support of Guido Maniscalco. It had been said today that I have a relationship with Guido Maniscalco, and to be quite honest with you, I want to go on the record and say this: I don't live in the city. I can't vote for this man and I can't vote for that lady. I've never hung a door hanger for Guido Maniscalco. I've never made a phone call for Guido Maniscalco. I've never waved a sign. I've never knocked on a door. I don't live in that district. My intent was to provide community service for the constituents of District 6, where Guido and Jackie Toledo are vying to represent. I wasn't given that opportunity because it was cited in the news by the Toledo campaign and by the League of Women Voters that I was biased. You know, it doesn't really matter if I would have come in here with a Guido Maniscalco shirt on or a Guido Maniscalco hat on. The New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox don't get along. But there are times when the Boston Red Sox have to go into Yankee Stadium and play an away game. And it's so much sweeter when you go into their backyard and win that game. And I'm saying that if Ms. Toledo had been up on her issues and willing to come in here and debate, what sweeter way, more convincing way to finally put Guido Maniscalco away by coming in here and doing the debate. By not doing the debate, she did a tremendous disservice to everybody in District 6. Let me also say that I was also disparaged for making a commentary referring to Ms. Jackie Toledo as not being one of us. Let me offer this. I wasn't mentioning anything having to do with immigration. You know, because if you're not a Sioux or a Lakota or a Seminole or a Choctaw, we're all immigrants. Just depends on when you got here to this country. Simply, I was stating that it was a matter of geography, not immigration. Guido represents West Tampa as a member of the community he was born and raised in. That's what that was intended to. But I didn't get that opportunity to explain myself either. West Tampa has always been a melting pot. I just want to say for the record, shame on the other side for not coming in here and giving us the opportunity and giving your constituents the opportunity to be heard. The opportunity is still available. The League of Women Voters wants to have a debate. Let's do it. Let's do it Saturday, let's do it Sunday, let's do it Monday. Jackie, you should be heard from. It's incumbent upon you. Thank you for your time. I'd like to give Guido the last 2 minutes. Guido, look right into that camera and tell everybody why you want to be District 6 City Council representative.
My fellow Tampeños, first let me thank you for tuning in tonight and watching this and sending in your questions and showing that you are concerned citizens and that you are folks that care about this city and love this city as much as I do. This debate that didn't happen would have been a great opportunity for everyone to see both sides. I'm not saying anybody is good or bad or a better candidate or a lesser candidate, but it's about exercising our First Amendment right. And here tonight, we were to say why we are the best candidates to represent this district that is so diverse. Mario Nunez mentioned we are a melting pot, but Tampa is not a melting pot. Tampa is a paella. Tampa is a stew. We coexist, we live together as a family and as a community, but we each maintain our individuality. And that's what makes us unique and that's what makes us beautiful. Former Mayor Dick Greco told me, there's no place in the world like Ybor City. There's no place in the world like Tampa. There's no place in the world like West Tampa. This is an area, a place, a city, a community that my family moved to over 50 years ago when they came from Cuba. When my father immigrated from Italy in 1981, he came to Tampa, and this is where he lives today. And just a few months ago, my father became an American citizen after living here so many years, and for the first time he voted on March 3rd was for his son. And that means a lot. And that means a lot to many people, because many people have that same immigration story, coming to Tampa, chasing the American dream, building this community together. I want your vote. I need your vote. If you haven't voted absentee, vote early. It's going on until Sunday at 6 p.m. If not, vote on Election Day, March 24th. Voting is important. We need our voices to be heard, and casting your ballot is to ensure and guarantee that your voice is heard. I ask you to vote for Guido Maniscalco. Give me the opportunity to serve you in West Tampa, in District 6, in Seminole Heights, and West Shore, this beautiful, diverse area. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for listening.
Guido, thank you so much. I want to say that for those of you that are still at your televisions and you'd like to see what we do here on a regular weekly basis, immediately following this show, you can turn your channel to Verizon 36 or Bright House 638, Comcast 20 as well, and you get to watch last week's show. And last week's show was a raucous romp with the owners, fourth generation Tampa natives, owners of Joe and Sons Olive Oils, right there in the heart of South Tampa, bay to bay between Himes and McDill. Marilyn Messina was with us last week. You'll get a chance to see what we regularly do here. And we hope that you tune us in each week, because we're here Thursdays at 7, and we're all about Tampa. Guido, I just want to say you have impressed me tonight, and I know you've impressed your constituents. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks.
I wish you nothing but the best, and I'm sorry that we couldn't have provided you with a competitor tonight, but I think you did yourself well. You did yourself proud. Hey, let's go ahead and grab our cups, because we do this each and every week here at the Tampa Native Show when we say goodnight. And I just want to say, on behalf of the hardest working public access television crew in all of public access history, and that's my guys, I just want to say thank you, Eric Cups, for sitting in tonight, and thank you, Becky, as well. On behalf of everybody, until next week, salud and happy days. We love you, West Tampa. Take care now, and Guido Maniscalco, good luck to you, son. Bye-bye now. Thank you.
Live from the studios of TV
back when we were younger and everything seemed new. We used to have a lot of fun, yes we did, no matter what we do. Sleepy days, long summer nights, going anywhere we please, with love that I could call my own, love that I've always known, the city that I call my home, a home from which I never roam. This love affair was meant to be. I love her and she loves me. I remember Tampa, oh, she remembers me. She remembers me. I remember, yeah, yes I do. Oh, oh, I remember, yeah, me and you. Tampa native, can't you see? I will share my story with you to preserve its history. Yeah. All right now, don't forget, Thursdays, 7 p.m. on TBCN, home of the Tampa Native Show.